I think Tyree Wilson is one of the more interesting edge prospects in this upcoming draft. There's things to really like about him and things to not feel so great about. He's definitely someone who I can see certain people, depending on how they evaluate edge rushers, fall in love with, and certain people, depending on how they evaluate edge rushers, dislike. I mean, one thing that everyone likes about him, huge player, 6'6", 275 pounds. Definitely the size is going to be a benefit. But what else does he have? Is he a Trayvon Walker 2.0? Is he not that? I don't think he's that. I think he's different in a lot of ways from that archetype, but there's definitely that comparison, which I do understand. So let's just get into what he is, what he does well, and maybe why some people might be lower on him than others. So first, you look at the stats, and there's some not great stuff and some good stuff here, just some interesting things. So these are PFF grades, which again, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but there is a huge correlation, especially when it comes to edge rushers, in PFF grades. Having bad PFF grades means you're probably not going to be very good at the NFL level. Having good PFF grades means you're probably going to be good at the NFL level. There's actually a huge correlation for that with edge rushers, so you should pay attention to it, is basically what I'm saying. You should pay attention to stats when it comes to edge rushers coming out of college, and specifically the right stats. Something like a PFF grade is a good stat, where you see, on the left section of the screen, his grades from each of the past 3 years. He's posted an above 70 grade, which is not ideal. It's definitely on the low side for a first-round pick. There's just no denying that. 2020 was bad, but whatever. Took a step forward. I don't care about that. What have you done for me lately? Had 2 okay seasons, but those aren't great numbers. And you look at on the right, you can kind of see where he compares with other college players. There are a couple of promising numbers, though. So again, pass rush grade and run defense grade, still not spectacular, not what you would want for someone who many are talking about as a top 10 pick. But the one thing that definitely stands out is he has a very good true pass rush grade. That's very good. And his pass rush win rate is actually even better, and a good run stop rate. So he actually is successful at doing what he's supposed to do at the college level. The PFF grade, though, is kind of saying that he's not actually performing that particularly well. He's just kind of, succeeding at doing what he's been trying to do, if that makes sense. Usually these things are very heavily correlated towards each other and don't have too much of a difference. So seeing a kind of relatively big jump here really raises an eyebrow and makes you want to watch the tape. Well, let's do that, because of course, you know me, I as much as I like looking at the numbers and think it's important to look at the numbers to get a good evaluation, tape just has to be a part of your evaluation, and probably the main part of your evaluation. What you're going to see here, that's where Wilson is on the field, going up one-on-one against a left tackle here. Watch how when this play begins. You're going to see him kind of fake as though he's going to the left of the left tackle, but then he's going to go towards the right. He doesn't do these kind of moves too often, but again, sometimes I want to see not necessarily what do you do just in an average snap. I want to see what can you do. What are you capable of? Because maybe you could get coached up to become a better player. Because watch how when he moves towards the inside, he is able to get past that left tackle, and he is able to get to the quarterback there. I mean, that's a really good play and kind of shows his athleticism and really his strength as well, as there was no way the tackle was going to be able to push him away on that play. So these are the kind of things that he's really known for. It's really his size and his strength. That's the main thing you see him do. But I'll be honest, it does not always work out. Something like this, one-on-one matchup once again, you see where he is on the field. And watch how when this play begins, you're going to see him kind of start and, I don't know, does not really win that matchup too well. The guard eventually gets over and is able to help out, but he's not able to really generate any pressure whatsoever or really even get a hand placement the way he wants to, I think. But I'm saying I think because I don't even know what exactly he was trying to do there. I don't know what move he was trying to pull off. And very much oftentimes, the moves that he tries to pull off are really just, I'm going to engage in contact and then I'm going to overpower my opponent. And you know what? It did work sometimes. Like going over here, I would not call this a fantastic move or anything, but sometimes he didn't need it. Something like this, it's a one-on-one matchup against a tackle. Watch how when this play begins, you see how, again, engaging that left arm on the tackle's right side of his body, but a lot of times with a left tackle, it's the left arm. That's the important piece, and you can't really see it that well, but really what's happening is that, he has his right arm just on, kind of underneath the left tackle's arm. Again, using his hands here, which is not something he does often enough, but it's what he's doing here. He's able to move it a little bit, but really it was just his power. I think he really kind of more so just overpowered to tackle more than anything. There's a little bit of stuff he did with his hands, but for the most part, that's just him using his power to succeed, and there's just no denying that his power is real. That being said, going over here, the question is, can you rely on that? Can you win in the NFL consistently just relying on one thing? You see him going up one-on-one against a tackle here. Watch how, he's going to take his time to really try to get to the outside. Again, takes a little bit of time there. That's honestly a concern I have with him, is sometimes he doesn't get into his stuff quick enough. You don't get that much time to try to get to the quarterback. You really don't. You can't be wasting time with this stuff. But here he is in the position he wants now to try to get to the outside. But here's where the challenge begins. The tackle who he is going up against, has his hands, one of his hands is just on Wilson's back. The other one's kind of on Wilson's, left shoulder area. And he's just going to try to push Wilson away from the quarterback. That's what he's doing here. And really, he does it. Look, he completely gets Wilson discombobulated and out of the play. And this is something that happens, is Wilson is kind of one of those players where, I see where the Trayvon Walker comparisons come from, as a player who certainly looks the part and certainly feels like when they win, it looks awesome, but just does not have the consistency that other players do. That being said, I don't think it would be fair to Wilson to compare him to Trayvon Walker completely. Trayvon Walker was, his numbers were just actively bad. Wilson's are underwhelming. Walker's was bad. I think that's an unfair comparison. I'm someone who was not a Walker fan personally, largely due to his analytics and things like that. I do think that you have to pay attention to the numbers. I think that you have to look at this and say, he did not win as consistently as he should. Why is that? I watched his tape and didn't have a great example, a great explanation. My biggest one is I think he's not quite the technician that some other players are. I don't think that he does a perfect job at being able to use his hands. You saw that one play where he did it a little, but for the most part, he really does not use his hands too much. He really relies on power. There's a lot of bull rushes in his game, and that actually, play style wise, I can certainly see the Trayvon Walker stuff. Again, Walker played all over, Wilson mostly just plays the edge. But one day we're into edge, Walker's still, his strategy is just bull rush every time and hope he can overpower whoever he's going up against. Wilson had a bit of that in his game, and just in the NFL, it doesn't work. You have to have other moves because, well, yes, a bull rush is awesome. Yes, being able to use a bull rush to get to a quarterback, that's the best thing you can do as a pass rusher. You just can't only do that. There needs to be other moves because these offensive linemen are so good. If they know a bull rush is coming, unless they're just not very good, unless they're one of the worst offensive linemen in the league, they're going to be able to stop that. So you have to have other moves in your repertoire. But that's where the excitement of a Wilson can come in, because he is not a finished product. He is a young player because he's about to get drafted, hasn't even played in the NFL yet, and there is hope that he can get better, which is why I do understand the hype for him and why I still have him as a first-round talent, even if I have my concerns of him, and I'm probably lower on him than most people are because of those concerns. I think that, it's fair to talk about the negatives of him, but we can't, again, the negatives to me do feel somewhat fixable, but at the same time, you can't just assume that they're going to get fixed, I guess, is the real thing. So while there's things to like about him, to me, I would not draft him, I think, in the top half of the first round just because of those concerns I have. I think there's better can't-miss prospects, although I haven't done my full evaluation of everyone yet. I've almost gotten done with defense right now. I still have, and I've done quarterbacks, but I still have to do all offense. So maybe I won't be impressed with the offensive field, and that'll change, but probably not. I probably feel like he's more of a, around like 20th overall as of right now. That's kind of where my mind's at for how I feel about him, which is, I think, lower than the average person feels about him, but those are my reasons because I pay attention to certain things that I think other people just don't care as much about, which doesn't mean that I'm right, doesn't mean that they're right. We just have different things that we evaluate, different things that we care about, and I think that for someone like Wilson, that's, it's just an interesting situation. On the consensus big board, he is currently at 7, which I think it's a bit too high. I wouldn't have him quite that high, but those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.